So through each corner, and I'll start at the top actually, just so it reveals it. We go through each of those corners. So when we draw across like this, you make the connection that this is the top front edge of that step. This is the inclined plane where it touches to make that intersection point where it then drops down in the riser. When I draw this line across here, if this corner touches the inclined plane line, this one has to touch the inclined plane line as well on the opposite side. It has to mirror what you've done. So therefore you stop right at that point right there. Okay, on your inclined line right here, you have to stop right there. Right? So then, from this point, we go back to the vanishing point over here, connect those 2 points together. That's the side of the step. So we got the side of the step, the front of the step, and this side here, that's actually the underside of the step because it's above the horizon line. We're looking up at the underside of the stair. So now from this connection point, we've created another crisscross point right here, which if we go to this one, on your inclined plane, that's the crisscross point for the riser. We then have to drop a line straight down from here, which is the height of the next step. If we go from this point here, the bottom of that riser, through the vanishing point, which is just below the horizon line, it's going to crisscross through here. So we bring this line down here and drop it. There's the riser for the second top step. Go through this point on the inclined plane. Through the incline on the opposite side right there. And that will automatically connect you back to this vanishing point here. Those 2 points will create the side of this next step right here, which then at that intersection point, you drop it down for the riser on the next one. So then through this intersection point on the bottom of the next riser to the vanishing point that's over there, crisscross a lot across, where that connects to this point here, that's the front plane of that next step. Now, does anybody notice something here? We're not doing anything brand new. These are 2-point perspective boxes. I'm just making 2-point perspective boxes that are stacked up on top of each other that are staggered out a little bit. Okay? There's nothing new and complicated here. We're doing exactly the same thing that we've been doing for the last 2 weeks. We're drawing 2-point perspective boxes. All we're doing is we're thinking about where are the intersection points? What do these lines represent? Okay? We're starting to attach names to these things and say this is a fill in the blank. So, anytime you see a crisscross point, you know that you have to go in one of 3 directions. Straight up and down to the vanishing point on that side, which I've already done, straight up and down to the vanishing point over there. Now I have to come from this vanishing point through here to create the top of the next step. From this corner here through to the vanishing point that's over there, across, where those 2 lines crisscross, it'll hit my intersection point of my inclined plane. That's the top of the next step. I drop a line down through this intersection point on the bottom of the riser of the next step, across, where these 2 lines intersect right here. That's now the front plane of the riser of that step. I've gone up and down, I've gone to the vanishing point in that direction, now I got to go through the vanishing point over here. I'm just repeating the same thing over and over and over again. Okay? It's the exact same steps where if I was to complete this box, instead of drawing a line in this direction here, out, to represent the edge of that step, if I went back in this direction here, and then drop this line straight down here, there's a box. It's a 2-point perspective box, floating in space. Okay? It's just I'm not going to draw these 2 lines here because they don't represent anything. I don't need them. Okay? What I need is the lines that define the actual space of the stairs that I'm drawing. it's connect the dots all the way. Now, if I know what I'm doing in advance, then what I can do is, rather than do each individual stair by itself, I can avoid having to move my hand around back and forth and up and down. So I can just go to the common vanishing point. So I know that I'm going to need lines coming across from each of these corners here. So I'll just stick my ruler to the vanishing point there. And rather than moving it all over the place, I'm just going to continue to draw these lines to that common vanishing point. And it saves me having to flip my pencil and ruler all over the place all the time. Again, it's economy of drawing and economy of movement. Okay. So that now does that. I can go from here to there, where the intersection point is on that one. That one is pretty much already drawn there. From the grid below. This one's also drawn from the grid below. I just have to draw all my vertical lines now. So now I've got my set of stairs. So again, the number of stairs on an 8-foot floor is basically between 12 and 14, depending on the height of the stairs, because they'll vary. So as long as you've got a large number, like not a million of them obviously, and if we split each of these in half, then it would look like there's even more, and the stairs are slightly smaller. But when you look at something like this, you can sort of accept the fact that, yeah, that's about the right number of steps. Okay? So, you know, use common sense when you're starting to put stuff like this together. Does it look right? You make an aesthetic decision as to whether or not it looks correct. Okay, now to finish this off, right now what we've got is we've got a floor plane down here, we've got a wall that's across here, we've got a plane on the edge of our stairs that's solid now over here, or we could put a little Harry Potter door down here to stick, you know, little children inside of. We've got each of our steps going up here, and we've got our wall on this side, but then we've got this vast open space that's up above. So let's say you're in this house and you go up the stairs, you go kabonk. You're hitting a solid ceiling. So we need to cut a hole in the ceiling in order for you to walk up to the next set of stairs, or the next floor. So from your vanishing point through this point right here, we're just going to draw a line along the ceiling, like this. Okay. That now creates a hole in the ceiling. So if we go from the base of our stairs down here, up our wall, to this corner right here, and extend through the vanishing point, that'll finish off our cutout on the ceiling. So that if someone is 6 feet tall, this height right here, when they go up each step, they're not going to hit their head on this here. That actually is a little bit shallow. You might want to come out a little bit further there, because you could, you know, bonk your head on something like that. This would be something more like for a set of stairs going down into a basement. This is more of a common type of thing, where this is a shorter distance. But theoretically, you know, the way they build houses is if you've got a set of stairs here, usually there's another set of stairs right above it, right? Because when you go up in here, there's going to be an incline up in here that allows you to go up into that space, which means that there's probably another set of stairs right above it. And those set of stairs would probably start at the same point, directly above where these ones are. So that would project that line up there. Okay. So unless the next flight of stairs going up to the next floor, let's say the ceiling is 9 feet, which requires one more step, which means you would come out one step beyond that, and this would actually be your cutout there. For the next set of stairs on the next floor would start here to give you that one extra step. Okay. It's not something that you know, think about when you look at a drawing, but it's one of those things that's just common sense. That's the way they build things. Okay? If you were to become an actual architect, you would have to figure all this stuff out. All these measurements would have to be planned out because all the wood is cut to a specific size. Stairs are cut to a specific size. Like you go to Rona and you say, I want to buy a set of stairs. They will give you a prefabricated set of stairs in a box, all the different pieces, and you just have to put it all together. But you have to tell them what height the stairs are, going up from one floor to another. And that's usually standardized so that, you know, they can cut them in bulk. Right? Like not every set of stairs is a specially cut piece just for you. So if our stairs continue up here, we can continue this line up like this, and that would represent this wall here. So if I was just going to continue the grid for the purposes of indicating that this is a solid surface, a wall, then my grid would continue up here like this. And that would be the wall on the one side there, with another 1 foot. Like that. Okay? This would be the opening. So when I get up to the top of the stairs, I then go through that opening, the doorway, into another room. So right now, the way I've drawn this is just the basic skeleton of the room. I would have to start to think about what are all these things made of. And I don't know if you guys have ever noticed or not, but usually the stairs, they have a little lip on the top of them for the thickness of the piece of wood. And that usually extends out just slightly further than your riser. Okay? In which case, that this line here, this line that represents the riser, would actually have to be set back, or you'd have to extend this out slightly further to make it protrude a little bit more. In which case, on this side, if this came and attached here, and that's the thickness of the wood right there for that step, the riser would have to be set back in here, like that. You understand what I'm saying? Okay. So again, when we're drawing stuff like this, you have to understand what's the thickness of the wood, what does it represent, how is it put together? Because again, if we fast forward into the 3D realm, when you guys jump into 3D Studio Max and you start building this stuff, this is a polygon. You're going to create a polygon that's going to represent this stair. It's going to have a height to it, it's going to have a depth to it, and it's going to have a width to it. You create that stair, you duplicate it, and you simply just plunk them into their place all along. And each one has to match up to a certain height, and it's going to overlap a certain amount. So you're actually going to be building a set of stairs in 3D, just the same way you would if you were physically building it in the real world. You have to take a piece of wood and stick it on. And so again, it's stuff that we need to be thinking about. So now let's pretend that within this room, just to complete the illusion of the room, we need a little bit of a thickness here on the side, so we need to pull this out a little bit for a door frame, which would then have the thickness of the wall to it here, out like that. Right? So this line here, this contour line, we come out like this and then go down across like that. So now let's put a doorway in here, and let's just think about how the doorway is going to fit in. So if we cut a door here, and we say that the doorway is 7 feet tall, and we said before that doors are usually about 3 feet wide. Oops. And that would be our cutout for our doorway. And then what we'd have to do is we'd have to erase this grid on here, extend this line back a little bit to represent the thickness of the wall. In this corner here, go back to the vanishing point over here, because the top of the door is above the horizon line, so therefore we'd see that top edge. So there's the thickness of the wall there. So now this goes into the other room. So then we'd have to determine, well, what's the dimensions of the other room on the inside there? It's just not this open void that goes into oblivion. It could, but not necessarily. So if the wall across here, this solid wall that's here, continues through to the other room, then we would have to extend this line here through the opening of the doorway here to represent that wall on the other side. And then we'd have to determine where is the corner of that room in relationship to where we are. So if we wanted to, we could just connect it, just simplify this down and connect it to this line across here. This would represent the back wall on the floor, and this line here, vertically, would now be the corner of the room on the inside there. So now we've created a depth dimension to the environment. It's not just this room with a set of stairs, but it's another room beyond that point that goes even further. We wouldn't be able to see the ceiling up in there, because if we extend our line through here, or would we? Yeah, we would actually. We extend our line through this point here, which is the ceiling line. Yeah, that's where that should connect, and this would crisscross across here. And actually that would be our ceiling right there. So wall here, ceiling up in here. Okay, and then of course this is all ceiling up in here as well. So now once I've got this, I can add whatever I want onto it. Okay, so if this is a set of stairs, right now the way this is set up, I have a grid, so I've got a solid wall that's up against the side here. I've got a solid wall that's over here. I've got a floor that's down here. I've got the side of the stairs that's now solid, and each step has a solid plane to it as I go up. But let's say I'm going up these stairs and I go step, 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 clunk. I'm going to hit my ceiling because I've got a flat plane up there. Right now it's just open to oblivion, so I could actually walk all the way up there. But what I need to do is I need to define a cutaway area that my character can actually walk through. So from my vanishing point here to the edge of where stairs are here on the wall, I'm just going to extend a line up and out through here. That's simply going to describe, here's an open hole now. I can go up through this hole. Here's a ceiling. That's a solid ceiling surface there. And this is now open. So if I want to define a wall that continues up here, I could do this. Okay. Now I've got a solid wall here, and this is an opening for a door. So I go up the stairs and I go through the door there. Now, from this point, it's just basically all about detail. What kind of detail do you put on this? So you have to determine for yourself, well, okay, I've got a horizon line, it's at 6 feet. I'm looking slightly off to the left-hand side of a corner, and I got a set of stairs. So I have a definable space that I've now created. Well, what is this? Where is this? You have to figure out in your own mind, what are you drawing? Where is this? When is this? Is this a medieval castle from 1422 in England? And these are the stairs going up to the turret where the princess is being held captive? Is this someone's basement in an old house? It's got a brick foundation. Is this a fire escape outside of a building? Is this a stair ramp to a UFO? Okay. You decide. It's all about your story. It's all about who your character is. In this case here, this could just be a location designed to say it's a UFO exterior. This is the opening ramp where the aliens are going to come out. Okay. Just to describe, that's what it looks like. Okay. Or this could actually be a scene from a movie where the aliens have landed and the aliens are coming out of the spaceship. So you've got to determine for yourself ahead of time, how much do I want to see? Are the stairs going to drop down? Smoke and debris and stuff like that, and then down comes the alien. And what's the alien going to do once they reach the bottom of the stairs? They're going to pull out their death ray and kill everybody? Or are they just going to walk off screen? Or maybe we cut into a close-up shot. Okay. Shot selection now. We're deciding on what it is that we want to see at any given point in time. Or maybe, like I said before, this is the basement of someone's house. And there's a doorway that's over here, and the character comes around the corner of the door and runs around here and then goes up the stairs. Or maybe they're dragging a dead body down the stairs here. Okay. Or let's say it's the exterior, it's the fire escape. Someone's coming out of a window over here. Or someone's coming down the stairs and trying to get into a window on the side there. Okay. It's purpose-driven. It's why is it there? And then you have to ask yourself, well, what story do you want to tell your audience? And you're grabbing their head and saying, here's exactly what it is that I want you to look at. Here's the direction that I want you to look at, and here's the action that's taking place within this environment. Okay? So what we're at this point now, what we're dealing with is basically just adding on details. From this point on, it's nothing but detail. So let's say I take this now, and I just go over top of it, and I just add in a bunch of details here really quickly, and what we end up with is there's my exterior staircase. It didn't take very long. I mean, it's just a few extra lines, right? You know, not a big deal. But it's based on the exact same perspective that's here. Okay, my vanishing point, one's over here, one's over here. There's my window that my character is going to come down the stairs, try and get in the window over here. Okay. Or what if I just add some more details here, redraw it like this, and I get my basement scene. Okay. So my character is going to come around from the wall over here, around here, and then up the stairs and out. Okay. So it's just adding details onto it. What if, I don't know, let's say, an alien spaceship. There's my alien spaceship. Okay, with the landing gear. Okay, so just a different set of details onto it. You know, let's say I just take a little airbrush on here and a little bit of, there we go. Okay, just add a little bit of depth and dimension to it. Okay. I do have an airbrush here, by the way. Okay, so this is based on what I did in the last class. I did basically the same setup here. Okay, use the same perspective and everything. I did these over the weekend. Just so you know, I didn't do them just now. And they took me, I would say they varied. Like this one here, actually, I did this morning. Okay, the spaceship one I did this morning. Doesn't have a lot of lines on it. Like when you compare this to this, you can see obviously there's a lot more brickwork and woodwork and stuff like that in it. So this one took me, I would say, approximately half an hour to draw, with that much detail. This one took me about 45 minutes. And this one here, because it's just got tons of lines all over it to describe all the metal work, that one took me about an hour and a half. Okay. Based on this rough. That's all it is. Once you've got the basic core of your drawing down, the rest is just detail. It's referencing, using your imagination, thinking about how things are put together. Now, if you, later on, you come up and take a look at my fire escape here, that's not a functioning fire escape, okay? It's got the icon of a fire escape. It looks like a fire escape, it smells like a fire escape, but it's not something that I would actually trust myself with 2 bolts sticking into a brick there to hold it into place. I wouldn't necessarily trust myself to stand on that fire escape and live. Okay? But again, here's the instance where, what are we looking at? We're focused on the character within the scene. The background environment is just dressing to say, here's where the character is. So you're not really looking to see whether all the bricks are the right size and the right shape. You're not looking to see that the rivets that are stuck into the bricks are actually holding the apparatus in place the way it should, or that the thing is actually functional. Okay? And again, I cheated on this one here. I'll show you the cheat. The cheat here is this. you can see the stairs come down, and I've given space down at the bottom here for the person to walk along here, and there's a pathway along here, and then there's a pathway at the back here to go down the next set of stairs down here. But when you get to the top of these stairs, there's nothing. There's nothing there for the character to stand on. Okay? But that's not the focal point. That's not the area that's necessary. I couldn't draw that in because I was matching it up to this edge here, and something went awry with my perspective somehow. I goofed up on it. And really there should be a platform that extends out further over here. Okay? So I should have scrimped this down a little bit further and made it work. But that's not a focal point. You're looking here, you're watching the character come down here. So you can get away with a certain amount of mistake and error and cheating when you get into it. And that's all freehand. There's no ruler in any of these drawings here. I didn't use a ruler. This is all just me, freehand, over top of my rough. Okay. I did all my perspective work here, and I gauged everything on the grid. So when you look at my brickwork here, all my brickwork here is working to the exact same perspective as is on my grid. I'm just lining all the bricks up to it. Okay. Same thing with this one here. The bricks on this one are all smaller, and in scale, you can see that when I line up my bricks over here, the bricks are like 2.5 bricks to a foot. Okay. Which is not perfectly to scale, but again, when you look at it, you see a wall of bricks and you go, yeah, okay, I'll accept that. That's the right size. My bricks out here are way out of scale. They're not working properly. But again, focal point is the important thing. Okay? So there are lots of ways you can cheat stuff, not in your overall general basic perspective. You can't, unless you're consistent with all the cheats on it, which we'll get into later on. But just so long as you adhere to your basic rule of 3 directions for the line, and everything goes to those points. And you make sure that all your connection points are there. So some people, with your 1-point boxes and your 2-point boxes, you messed up because you weren't accurate or you were sloppy with it. You just sort of let the lines go. They didn't really quite connect. Well, that's going to affect the overall quality of your final drawing. If you're not making those lines connect securely, then when you go to clean it up later on, it's like, it doesn't quite work. Okay? And so what we're down to now is a series of aesthetics. People are going to look at whatever you produce, and they're either going to accept it as being correct, or they're going to go, no, that's wrong, because there's something not quite connecting, or there's something veering off in the wrong direction, or you're not taking every line to the vanishing point. Even if you're off just by like a centimeter on your vanishing point, that can be enough to throw off that perspective, that perception that that line is actually receding off into the distance. And it makes your object drawing, or whatever it is that you are drawing, unacceptable to the viewer. They go, no, that's not right. And so that's something we have to guard against and just control. So every line you draw has a purpose. Every line you draw has to have a reason. Every line you draw has to go in a specific direction. And you have to be thinking about why you're doing all those lines in those directions and what they represent. As soon as you stop thinking, that's when you run into problems.